Uno, dos, tres.
Today I'm with talent manager Arthur Massei. Arthur is the director of the New York office for Talent Inc., and he happens to be my manager as well. How you doing?
I'm doing well tonight. How are you, Adam?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
And thank you for having me. I'm really appreciate it.
All right, cool. So I guess we'll start at the beginning.
Okay.
All right. So how did you get involved with representing talent? You know, what's your background for that?
Well, it's kind of odd. I went to college. I graduated in 82 and I went to work for family business. And around 1993, my sister wanted me to rep this kid who come in the office to be a model. So I went to the library and read up on the business. There was no Google at the time, so I had to physically get in the car and drive to the library. And that's how it started. And then a friend of mine from high school heard I was repping a model, and he called me and said he just quit his job at a talent agency. And if I wanted to, we could form a business and he would teach me how to represent actors. And I jumped at the chance.
Perfect.
And that was around 94, end of 93, beginning of 94. And I finally moved to New York and started repping actors full time.
It's funny how your life, life can take like a twist and turn at any time. And it's like just a model walking into a shop changes your whole career trajectory.
Yeah, and my sister kept saying he should be a model. I kept saying, I don't want to do it. And so, but yeah, it's odd because back then I wasn't into energy and now I am. And I realized it was part of the way to get me here to New York. Yeah. Because I was not going to come willingly.
Why weren't you going to come willingly?
Because I worked for a family business. I had made a lot of money.
You had a good life.
I had a great life. And so at the time, it was kind of interesting. And this kid was so good looking, he booked every job he went on. So I thought this is really easy. Bring on some of his friends. And he was a professional volleyball player as well. So then I started representing actors, and I finally moved to New York in May 94, and it's been doing it ever since.
Right. What are you looking for when you meet an artist? Like what are you looking for in a client?
Well, I think, my first thing is confidence in
Sure.
their abilities, confidence, the willingness to accept oneself as is. It's a hard business. For you to create a character, you need to accept 100% who you are. This is where we start from a real, truthful place. And so I look for actors who are confident, who respect the process, and those who are, I would say, focused.
Yeah. Hungry?
Hungry is always, yes. You've never heard an actor go on TV and seen my father, was a big star, and he gave me a big penthouse. And it's funny, I always tell people the story about Michael Douglas and how Michael Douglas met Danny DeVito. Yeah. Right? Michael Douglas's father was an Academy Award winner. He certainly could afford an apartment here. But when Michael Douglas went to acting school, that's who he roomed with was Danny DeVito.
At American Academy of Dramatic Arts.
Yeah. And so to me, that says it all, because I think if Kirk Douglas made Michael too easy, he'd never become who he is today. Because it's a hunger and a thirst. And I think casting knows that when you come in there. They see your determination. And there's also a self-awareness they need to see too. Yeah. And that's key. It's really key.
I want to talk about that, like self-awareness. I think that's an important thing. Like, because I've seen it in some actors where they don't really know who they are. Like they don't know they don't know what makes them interesting. And they desperately want to be interesting, but they don't know what it is. They can't put their finger on that thing inside of them that makes them interesting, which is why coaching and working with a director is so important. One of the things that, I was talking with Lucas last week about this as a director, one of the things I try to do is I try to find the one thing that person has that really stands out that they don't know about, the thing that they don't even see. And sometimes that may just be shaping the script a little different or doing a different, coming up with a different way of doing it than they would have done it or that they come in and do.
Yeah, because of that, they come with a linear approach. They're not doing a nuanced subtle performance. It's very important to do that. And what happens is when I teach kids, like I'll teach kids, little kids like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 10, they're more fun to work with because they have no peer pressure at that time.
And no bad habits.
No bad habits. They say whatever that comes to their mind, and they're more open and free about it. As they get into like middle school, like 7th, 8th, 9th grade, peer pressure sets in. And then when you come to New York, if you're not willing to be vulnerable because of peer pressure, you already lost. So vulnerability along with self-awareness. Because if I'm afraid to make a fool of myself, I can't be an actor.
Yeah, you got to I think a lot of actors, they start out and that's what makes them, it's why in their high school play, that's why they stand out and they're better than everyone else because they're able to overcome their inhibitions. And the problem with a lot of training is, they'll deem imagination or doing that as play acting. And so they kind of shit on people who do that kind of work. And I understand, look, acting is serious and I get it. But man, you gotta have love for the fun of your imagination. Yes, you can add, later you do have to add the subtlety and things like that. But I think if you lose, at least for me, it took me a long time to get back that joy of getting in front of an audience or getting in front of camera and doing something interesting and compelling. And to me, that's how you actually be vulnerable. You know what I mean? If you put yourself out there.
You have to get used to it. If you're not used to it at first, vulnerability is a very difficult concept to grasp.
Yeah.
Because you're so worried what they're thinking. So people will ask me, they'll say, well, I think casting like me. I said, well, let's not get into their head. I never want to get in someone's mind because I'm not a mind reader.
Right.
And neither are you. So, and you literally give your power away when you're worried about what they're thinking. That's key. Is if I'm worried about what you're thinking, I'm giving you the power to ruin me. And you've heard the stories. Lucille Ball was told to go back home, don't act. Danny DeVito was actually ridiculed by an agent. Actually called him in his office to humiliate him and said, I saw you in your play. It was awful. You should never be an actor.
I had an agent at a really big agency say that there's nothing special about me.
Yeah. Well,
they said that.
Because, you know why? Because you probably thought that. You see, we give off subconsciously how we feel. So once you start accepting yourself and you have a self-worth, they're going to stop saying that to you. So a lot of times that negative thing someone says to you sets a fire underneath you. And look for you. You went on 100 auditions. I counted them, remember?
Yep.
I mean, you were going out audition after audition. And then what happens? You start booking.
Yeah.
You book 4 in a row.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. And now you go for all these really interesting roles.
Yeah.
Really
I don't get booked as much, but the roles that they consider me for are much better quality roles.
Well, he said something here. So Adam said he doesn't go out as much because here's why. He's seen every casting director in Manhattan. Everyone knows him thoroughly. They've had him at least 10, 15, 20 times. And so I push the envelope, they don't buy it now. That's the thing. They know Adam. And it's a good thing because they'll call you in when you're right for the role. And so that's the most important thing is to not get in their mind, to go in, because you get the sides, you get the script sometimes. You give them what you believe they're looking for from your point of view.
Yeah, I talked about it on the last show a lot, and I don't think it can be said too much. You cannot read their minds, and if you're trying to please them or do what's right, you're not giving them what they want. What they want is for you to bring yourself, all of yourself, all your creativity. You think that you have to subdue your creativity because you got to do the right thing, and that's the opposite of what's true. You have to go in there and bring your creativity. There's a guy, I won't mention his name, but I follow him on Instagram, and he's an actor who I really respect his work. And he books a lot, a lot of commercials. And he put on Instagram that people ask him how he booked, the 4 commercials and the 6 TV shows or whatever he did for 2020. And he said, because I unapologetically bring it in every audition I go into. And I like that. You're go in there and do your art. You're an artist. Go in there and do it. Now, you don't want to be crazy. You don't want to come off like, there is a limit, right? You can overdo it.
Well, James Dean used to break things on castings. In casting's office, he'd go in and just push his ashtray up and break it and get away with it.
Yeah.
Some people get away with things, and we know who they are, right? You see some actors say whatever they want, nobody cares.
Yeah.
And so
typically pretty actors get away.
well,
they can
anybody
get away
or
with
funny comedians
are really funny. Yeah.
are really funny, and you deal with it. So it's. I always say if I was an actor and they said, "How did you book it?" I would say, "I don't know. You have to ask casting that. Casting knows all the answers because production, like you had to go in front of production eventually, right?
Yeah, production or director sessions and
then think about that. If they cast somebody that's different for your parent, then that throws you out.
Lots of stuff.
A lot of times you can give a great audition, and it doesn't matter because casting went a different way, and you get pushed out because of it because you're not that type.
A lot of good actors out there. Things have changed with like the terms being on hold and being pinned. That's changed a little bit. So I was talking to one of my mentors, Edmund Gaines, who's a veteran stage and television actor from the 50s and 60s. And he talked about, well, back in the day, if they put you on hold, you had the part. Like you pretty much had it.
Yeah.
You had but that's changed now because they'll put a pin in you, and I don't know what your chances are. 1 in 5, 1 in 10.
We don't know.
Yep.
Because it will depend on how casting went with the roles that are
the adjacent roles, the parents, the kids, the buddy you're sitting next to.
Yeah.
And I know that they have some diversity things they need to be conscious of as well, and so that changes things a little bit.
Yeah, that does. Yeah.
So I guess let's go to like how does an actor get your attention? What should they do to try to get to you, to try to sit down and have a meeting with you? What are the positive things that they can do to get your attention?
Well, first of all, and this is the most important, is if you email me and you say, "Dear Talent Inc." or "To whom may concern," I delete your email. I don't even read it because that's offensive. You need to do your homework. It's offensive, and it's offensive. Here's why it's offensive. Because when you do that, you're blanketing every agent and manager in the city. I don't want that kind of person. I want someone who targets me and says, "I read up on the managers and you're one of my favorites because I read in backstage this article that you were involved in, or one of your clients talks about you." It's personal business. So they got to target, make it personal. "Dear Arthur," and you can't lie because sometimes I'll call you on it, because if I say I don't think that's true, I'll reply, "Well, how do you know that?" And then they won't be able to answer me. It's a lie, but you can always tell when they're being truthful. But I like when they email me, it's personal. And the credits, we have two types of clients: developmental and actors who make money.
Right.
The developmental ones are the ones that they don't have that much on a resume. If someone comes to me, like you came to me at the beginning when I first started with Talent Inc., and so, to me, credits are not a big factor. Unless you did extra. If you do a lot of extra work, then you disqualify yourself from
a lot of shows, yeah.
All those TV shows. Now, there's so many TV shows in New York shooting, that's not a big deal anymore, but still, you don't want to do an extra on Blue Bloods just to become union. It's not worth it because now you can't
be on that show, and it's a lucrative show to be on.
It's a lucrative show. The residuals are really, really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you were just talking about, you looked at digital submissions. Do you look through all the hard copy submissions?
I don't like hard copies. I try and refrain from that. It's a waste of, I'm a big environmentalist, so I like to save the trees. It's better people reach out to me all kinds of ways. They reach out to me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I get them all ways, so it's kind of driving me crazy. But it's how they approach me too.
Yeah.
They have to make it personal. They make me laugh. If you make me laugh, I'll call you on.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to find out which, maybe not all of them, but you can actually look into like which agents and managers like to receive hard copies. A lot of them will put that out there. You can go to their websites, and a lot of them will tell you how to send in a hard copy. If they're requesting a hard copy, they look at them. If that's what they're asking for, they're looking at it.
It's probably easier though just to do the email, because we're back when I first started in the 90s. We had to put the headshots and the resumes, we stapled them together. We had to either messenger them or walk them ourselves to the casting offices.
Right.
And now it's so much easier. So we're getting used to all the casting offices. And CBS, up until a few years ago, was still making you drop off headshots.
Really?
Yes.
Up to the 57th Street or whatever?
Yes, the 53rd, whatever.
Yeah.
I used to have to mail them or have a messenger bring them up.
That's a really awesome place to audition, because it's not like you walk in and it's more like this set. And most rooms you walk in, it's a casting director with like a little camcorder, and maybe they have a light, and maybe sometimes they'll give you a lavalier to put on. But at CBS, you walk in and it's like you're like in a studio, and it may just be Rob across just him and nobody else. But it'll have Sennheiser mics, more like this than like what you typically get when you walk into a casting room. I love auditioning there. It's exciting every time. All right, let's see what else we got here. So you work with both adults and children.
Yes.
Tell me about like what it's like to manage a child actor, because you have to deal with their parents. And are you really managing the parents, or?
Well, I hope not to. That's one of the things I look for is in the meeting. When I meet a child actor, if I ask the child a question, if they look to their parent, they'll spy, or if the parent jumps in, I won't sign them.
Yeah.
I'll cold read them real quick and say thank you very much. I need a kid who's going to be, because in casting, when a child goes into casting, they literally take the kid away from the parent, bring him into the casting office, and shut the door.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, I had a client read to play George Clooney's son, and he was prepared. It was 12 pages of slides. The kid was like 12. He remembered all the lines. And when he got in there, they shut the door. They said, "We want you to forget what you read. Here's the new script." And he went and he did a really good job.
Oh, he nailed a cold read.
He did okay. So to me, is if I'm asking you a question, you're looking to your mother or father for the okay to talk to me, that's not going to work.
Well, there's plenty of kids who will go in there and just take over the room. Like those kids are out there. They'll come in and they'll own their acting, their imagination, when I was a kid, that's what I would do. I wouldn't have looked at my parents. I would have walked in there and I would have had maybe a briefcase with me or something, and like a little tie. I was that kid. I was the kid who went to school with a briefcase.
Yeah, it's that. It's the kid has to know what he's doing. He has to know what he's doing there, or she needs to know what they're doing there. So the next thing is work permits. The parents have to make sure the work permit's up to date, passports, because now my clients shoot all over the world. I have clients shooting in Paris, London. It could be anywhere. So you need a passport. The parents are responsible for updating Actors Access as the kid grows. Every 6 months, they need new headshots. So all that the parent does. And if they do that effectively, they stay a client.
They can make your job. They can help you do your job.
Yeah, because I can't, if I'm submitting a kid and he's now 5, I have a kid who went from 5'3" to 5'9" in a matter of 6 months.
Wow.
And so.
Do I know that kid?
He's from down south.
I don't know that kid then.
No.
Okay.
But he now is 5'9", so he's kind of tall for his age range. So that also affects my ability to submit you. But I work primarily with the kid, and I expect kids when they hit 13, 14 to email me themselves. I don't, CC your parents, of course, but I want a kid to take the initiative because I want to know the kid really wants to do it.
Right.
Not the parent.
So do you also work that way? So if, let's say a 13, 14, 15-year-old sends you an email, when you reply, do you if they didn't carbon their parents, do you carbon their parents?
I always CC. Always, if they forget, I always CC. The parents have to be on the email thread. I will add them back in.
Yeah.
And it's always tell people when you reply to an email, make sure because a lot of times, like if you have an agent, if you forget to reply to all, the agent doesn't see your confirmation. So that's what I do.
Yeah, replying to all in this business is it's just, you should just get in that habit. Just always reply to all. Yeah. And if you end up getting two yourself, so be it. You need to reply to all. Yeah. So that's kids. For, let's say that somebody reaches out to you on Instagram and does a video or something that makes you laugh, and you say, okay, let's set up a meeting. They come into the meeting. Walk me through. Okay. So if they do it with Instagram or Facebook or by email, and they don't include their Actors Access link, I will ask them, could you please send me I always view the Actors Access link before I meet with anyone. It's to see where they're at in their mind. Okay. A lot of people say, oh, I don't have that. Then I tell them, you're not ready for me yet. Right. You need to you need to go and find the younger managers who just started business who need new people that are so green. Yeah, you can't go to the second grade till you pass the first grade. You gotta go out there and try to get some jobs yourself. I mean, it's really hard to get you can't really get in very often for a well-known television show without representation, but there's lots of other jobs out there. Well, there's the Taft-Hartley Act forces production to release so many roles to everyone. So I always tell actors, so if you don't have an Actors Access profile, I say upgrade to the $68 a year thing. And then you could submit yourself, because you will get clients who email me and say, I saw this on my end of breakdown. It's a nice role. Can you submit me for it? I go into my breakdown and I don't see it. And that means that's a like a non-union, like a
No, it could be union,
It
but
could
it's one of the roles that they give to the actors who
Oh, so
don't
they-
have representation.
So they deny you from seeing it because they want gotcha.
that particular role they want.
I had no idea about that. That's
Well,
very
the
interesting.
Taft-Hartley Act that forces, and the Taft also dictates actors don't have to join SAG-AFTRA until the third job.
Right.
So that's, and it's kind of a nice way so backstage you're going to get mostly non-union, but you get union films.
Right.
Where Actors Access, you're going to get union and non-union films and TV shows in your Actors Access profile. So I would believe you need to do that.
I think it's important to talk about, like in the case, like right now with the pandemic going on and productions being really, really, the unions and everyone being really strict on how they do their productions. It's really just big shows, that can do union work.
Because it's going to cost.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
You have COVID people on set. You have to pay extra people.
Yeah.
The PPE. So right now they have to test. My client Shooting for Life, he's testing every day.
I got the message for the this role I'm going up for that if you book it, they got to test you 3 times before you even start work.
Yes.
Let me ask you this: do you know the answer to this? If let's say they cast you in the job and everything's fine, and then you test positive before the shoot, do they have to pay you?
I would believe so. I don't
Something,
know that.
right?
I would think they have to compensate you for that. I think they're doing the PCR test because there is a rapid test you can do, and so I don't really know that much about it.
But they have maybe like a private company so they can get their stuff to the.
I think they're going to have to pay you.
I think it seems like the union would want you to get paid for that.
Yeah, because they pay it for the COVID test to go. They give you my client worked on a set. They paid him $250 just for his time to get the test.
So the person they have an Actors Access, right? So we've gotten to the first barrier. The first barrier is you got to have an Actors Access.
So now you have Actors Access. You send me that. If you're very, very green, I will give you a link to the agents for the SAG-AFTRA and managers. And I tell you, look for the newer agents and managers that you see are brand new.
Right.
And they're the ones more likely to accept you if they have something I'm interested in, like a look. So it's always a look first.
So with everything in acting,
it's
always
all
a look
visual.
First.
Everything's a look first. So the very handsome and pretty the very handsome and pretty actors, or the very charactery. If you're like nondescript, like if you're in between, it's harder to get you auditions.
Yeah, if you're like a normal looking person.
If you're a normal looking person, it's very difficult. And if you're white, there's a lot, there's not enough African American, Hispanics, and Asians in the business to go out. There's so many. I get like white Caucasian submissions 10, 20 a day.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more. So then the competition for you is more fierce.
Yeah, we've talked about this in the offline before, and there seems to be there's really just not enough people of different colors and diversity that are in acting. There's always a need for more.
Yeah, and it's good for the ones who are in it now because they get a lot of auditions. They
really
do. Yeah.
So yeah, you guys gotta if you're out there and you feel like maybe you don't fit in, and this is anybody. If you feel like maybe you don't fit in, that may be exactly why you should try to go out and get an agent or manager. Exactly. If you feel like you're not like everybody else, you might be exactly what an agent or manager or casting is looking for.
100%. Now, non-binary, transgender. If you are non-binary and transgender and you thinking about acting, it's a time to get into it because
they're writing those characters.
They're writing those characters because it's real life. We're living in real times. And so it's a good thing for everyone to be an actor because then they can get some play.
Yeah, I think we need to have everything, and if you're out there and you're interested, there's an opportunity now to get out there and get in front of some people to show your talent. Now you have to be talented.
And I know, you
gotta still be talented, but you've got an opportunity to show it now.
Yeah, I have one non-binary talent, and every audition we submit I shouldn't say she, I should say they get an audition.
Yep.
That's how good it is. So it's amazing.
So let's say that they do have something you like. They have the right look. They have the right, they're funny. Their voice is interesting, or whatever. Their hair is crazy, and you love it, or you just like their style. They get into.
There's still one more step.
Oh, okay.
And the next step is, do I have their type already? So if I already have your type, I can't bring you on board as a manager. I don't have anybody that looks the same. Someone could be 20 years older than you and be the similar type. But if you look at my roster online, you see everyone's different. And I even have He's autistic. He's 19 years old. He's very comedic. And I want to introduce him to the world because he is very funny.
So you just hit on something I wanted to ask about. So is that one of the differences you think between a manager and an agent is that, agents will often double up.
Well,
They'll have 10, 12 of the same,
But it'll be like some age varying. So
right.
And agents can have 600 to 1,000 clients easy.
Right.
And so I have like 45 to tell.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So that's step 9 or 10?
So then you're there. So then you get called in. Then I say, tell me about yourself. And I want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
And I don't want to hear when people they'll start off, well, I'm from Wilmington, North Carolina. I went to school at a private school. And I said, stop. You're boring me. Tell me about you. So I start torturing them right away. I want them to give me a story that no one knows. That's what I'm asking. I want you to come out and be upfront with me to see if you are vulnerable, to see if you're self-aware. I'm testing you. I test you every inch of the way.
Right.
And then once we get through that, then we do a cold read. And then Jacob will sit with me, and Jacob will be a reader, and I'll be a reader sometimes, and one of us will watch. And then Jacob will tell them that you're going to go now, and we'll talk about you behind your back, and we'll make a decision. And that's how it goes. And then we make a decision.
Okay. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened in one of those meetings? Because I know that there's a lot of eccentric characters.
Well, here's some things. Like for me, I had a 28-year-old, between 28 and 32. He drove up from Virginia to meet me with no appointment. And it was me and another agent in the office, another agent. I had an office in the agent's office. And so I sat down with him and I said, this kind of scares me when you come in unannounced. I said, there's a process.
Right.
And I thought I could show you in person who I really am. I know, but you're scaring me now. Because how do I trust you with casting? See, we're the gatekeepers.
Right.
And I said to him, you got to go back home. You're in Virginia. There's Erica Arvold down there. She's a casting director. There's
shows down there, yeah.
Russian Spies.
Yep.
Take a class with her, get to know her, and she'll refer you. And if she refers you to me, then I'll meet you.
Yeah.
Another time, a mother, I go out to get the child, and the little 8, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, whatever she was in her underwear, and I said, "What are you doing? This is in my waiting room." And I'm like, "Why wouldn't you do that in the
bathroom?
Go in the bathroom, the woman's room." And she goes, and so we sat down after she got her dressed. I said, well, what were you thinking? And, and I said, how do I trust you with casting? And she says, well, I would never do that to casting. I said, I'm any less important?
Right.
So when you live subconsciously, you're not going to get past me because I'm conscious.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Another kid, he's my client. He took his shirt off because it called him to take it off. I normally don't like that, but it's the way he did it. It was funny.
The script did?
The script said he'd take his shirt off, and he did. And he's really good for film. He's going to be a really good kid for film. And then
I think I know who maybe you're talking about.
Probably.
Yeah.
But there was one of my favorites, though, was this one. I do a NBC Diversity Showcase, has the best comedic sides. So I always make actors do comedic sides because it's harder than drama.
Right.
And I see where they're at in their mind as to, are they self-aware? Are they confident? Can they be nuanced? Can they be subtle? And so the vampire one, they just finished the date, and now the scene opens where they're in this car. They're in the vampire's car. Right? So I get on the Zoom, and I see the woman's in the car. The cars are going by. I'm thinking, so I said to her, why are you in your car? To do an audition.
Wait. She was doing a Zoom audition?
In her car. She had her phone.
And she was in the car driving because the scene was in a car. She was parked.
She was parked, but cars are going, it was a busy area in Chicago, and cars are going by. And I said, what are you doing in the car? She goes, well, it says here, they're in a car. And I said, but you don't do that. I said, if you came to my office, you can drive a car into my office? Like, people are misguided.
Yeah. That's
not living conscious. It's a direction. So I tell actors, you don't need, when you say, nobody points like this on TV. You don't see people that, I want you to do this.
Yeah, they indicating.
Don't indicate. Keep your hands still, because when you're on set, production tells you what to do, right?
I think that's that's one of the big, thing you see with beginning actors is they indicate things, so that and indicating can be more than just gestures, right? You can indicate by, with your voice or with your eyes. You can. It's just it comes off as overacting.
But the frame is mid chest, so if I'm moving my hands around, all you're seeing is my shoulders going up and down.
Right.
It's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
So I say, keep your hands on the script.
Yeah.
That's how you keep yourself.
Yeah, I think that I had said we were talking before about really being your authentic self and letting your creativity out there. It's got to be within the scope of what a professional actor does. I think we're talking. I was talking about something different, and I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. Is that after you have experience as an actor, you can get into the trap where what we were talking about earlier, where you think that there's a right way to do it. So trying to get away from that and bringing your own artistry is, but you can't just let any impulse fly.
You have to be conscious, and you have to understand what the scene is about.
Yeah.
And so don't move in the chair, and people will sometimes, and they'll grab the other person, and I stop the call read. Sometimes I have actors read together, and Jacob and I will watch. And the guy will grab the girl, and I said, stop. You never touch another actor.
Yeah.
It's inappropriate because they don't know you don't know them. And it's not called for because it's a direction. Should you book it? Right?
Yeah, you'll
literally have actors sometimes they'll be reading with me and it calls them to lead the scene and they get up and run out. Where'd you go?
Well, there's a lot of good can come from training to learn how to audition and stuff. There's a lot of good from that.
I'm if your personality and your self-awareness outweighs some of the mistakes, I'm fine with that because I can guide you down the road.
You can if they're teachable.
Yeah, they have to be open. But some people get up and run out of the scene. And one kid came in, his credit was from 10 years. His last credit was 10 years ago because you could see by the resume. And so it means they left the business for some reason. Now they're back. And I said, let's do a call read. And he stands up and he goes, if I knew I had to do a call read, I never would have came here today. And I said, why are you copying such an attitude? I says, your credits here from 10 years ago. I just want to see how you play with it.
And you are an actor.
And it's like, and if Matt Damon was on the street and you said, Matt, could you come and do a call read? He'd be happy because it's fun. It's supposed to be fun. That's people who play with casting. That's who's going to get the role.
That's how that takes a while to get there. And that's
scary.
It's
scary.
Yeah, that's where I'm at now, where I get, especially with the self-tapes, because I'm into photography and I'm into videography. Now I look at a self-tape as like, oh, this is awesome. I get to be this character. I get to act and I can, do it for the camera. And now I really enjoy it. And I don't think about, I just don't, at a certain point, you have to trust yourself.
You want to just do the work.
You have to trust yourself and do what you're supposed to do. Like do what you became an actor to do.
Yes, but you get lost because here's the thing: don't listen to everyone on the street.
Yeah.
So parents will say, parents will do the most stupidest things, and I'll say, "Why did you do that?" Well, I didn't know. I thought. I says, "Why didn't you call me or text me?" That's what I'm here for. Unless you know. And then other parents will, when the parents, because the parents are doing the self-tapes for the kids. I have this one mother, the first 10 auditions, we were going back and forth, getting it right. Now, she's a pro. She's as good as you.
So you don't have to worry. You can
I just send her stuff.
Yep.
And the kid, he's been emailing me since he was 15. He emails.
Well, let's not go so far to say she's as good as me.
I know. Well, no, I'm saying as far as the self-tape, I'm surprised because she pays attention. She wants to do a good job. And so that's the thing. But being your true self, you have to know when you never want to cross the line in your audition.
Right. There's a line.
There's always a line.
It's a job interview. I mean,
you never bring a gun with you. You don't bring any toy guns. You don't
bring any props.
No props. Props. They say you can use your cell phone.
If they want you to play guitar, they'll tell you bring your guitar, but that's no props.
You don't bring any props with you in the audition. So basically, I'm watching you, and I see if you can work with me. And people still get through that, and they still fool me. So, but I get smarter every year. I really do.
So let's go on to let's talk about headshots because I know I've worked with several of your clients.
Yes.
And I like working with your clients because I can send you, their galleries. Everyone's in on it, right? So they know that I'm sending the gallery. I trim it down so that he can select the headshots. When you're going through their headshots to try to help them, give them advice on which ones to pick, what's going through your mind?
Well, that's why I send it to you, because a lot of times they'll send me headshots, even for professional photographers, where they look like a deer in headlights. And so the most important thing about a headshot is the eyes first, then the area around the face, and then the head, the hair, the neck, and then you fill it out with the mid-chest. And so you always give me what I ask for, because photographers will send me 300-400 shots. I don't want to go through 300 or 400 shots. And then some of the pictures, the one eyes are closed. One photographer sent me, the woman had like 30 shots like this. And I emailed the photographer, why'd you not clean them out for me?
It's just laziness. I mean, I did that when I first started. It took me.
You never did that. You never did that to me. And because it's like, you don't need 1,000 shots. You just need a basic commercial shot and a basic legit shot. And the legit shot is with your no teeth, just looking into the camera, leaning. I like when you lean in, because you're leaning in. That means you're
pushing through the camera.
You're engaging.
Yeah.
Right.
I try to get that a lot. Try to get a lot of that movement in. Yeah.
And then the smile is a big smile showing your pearly whites. And so they're the main ones. Then I like to tell people, get some of the 7 emotions, but don't be overly, like the examples you see on the internet, they're overly angry. We don't want that, because casting knows if they see a subtle, nuanced anger shot, they know you can get angry. Yeah. All right. So John Sudol wrote a book, Acting Face to Face. John Sudol believes that if you make an angry face, you can literally feel the anger in your emotions in your body, right? Yeah,
that goes back to that goes back, what is it, 1,000 years to Del Sarte. Talked about the poses and things like that. That physical actions can make you feel emotions. Yeah. And so they used to, I think that they used to act a lot of that way, would do it through gestures. And they made fun of that style. But when I was in acting school, actually after acting school, when I was back at college doing some acting training, they talked about it. And I had a difference of opinion on it, because I thought, well, if I do, the angry gesture, I can feel something happening to me here. There's something to that. Yes, we're not going to go on stage anymore and strike a pose and a gesture to communicate to the audience. But as an acting exercise, I found it really valuable.
I think any exercise in acting is very valuable, as long as there's a line there with the coach. Right. I know you guys are talking about this anger thing. No, anger is only for that role that you need to be angry for. Right. That's it. We are our other emotions, and they do say that the 7 emotions all have to be triggered. You're not naturally happy. We're not naturally angry. It's just that some people that are angry, there's more triggers to make you angry. The people that are happy, there's more triggers for them to make them happy. So every emotion has to be triggered by something. And that's pretty unique when you look at it that way. And that's why you'll see like Steven Spielberg's films, every film he always does a close-up of fear, anger, surprise. Yeah. It's important. The face is the most important thing. And that's what I always tell actors, is that I'm governed by that when I first meet you. So if I have your type, I can't bring you on. If you're unique, I can bring you on.
Is that what you were talking about before? Is that basically the difference between a theatrical headshot and a commercial headshot? One is more serious.
One's without showing teeth. One is with teeth. Okay. And you can't use one shot for everything. If you have one, I always tell actors, if I was a casting director, I'd be thinking only 2 shots. Why don't you do a little bit more? Are you just beginning? You should at least have 7 shots in your portfolio, because it shows that you really want it. Like the more you put into it, the more comes out of it. Yeah. Actors tell me, I say, are you in class right now? Oh no, I went to college for that. I'm done. I'm thinking, no, you're not done. You have to continue, because artistry, like you say, you get lost sometimes. Yeah. Actors can get lost, and don't have so many mentors. Don't listen to, like me, I don't talk to any other manager. I talk to my lawyers. I talk to my friends that are big wigs at like ABC. They're by people that I go to, because they're at arm's length for me. Right. A manager's not going to really tell me the truth, are they? Is an actor going to tell you the truth? You don't know. Unless you're really close, you have to know them. But people will go in the room, they're in the audition, and they're talking to everybody. Don't talk to them. You got to be centered when you're going in and you're in the lobby. you got to stay to yourself because you can't let anybody, because actors will start talking.
It's easy to let somebody else get in your head, especially another actor. I think that, when you go out and get a coach or work with someone, if it's not right for you, if you don't feel good about yourself when you do it, just move on. Get another one. There's always going to be another one that you can work with.
No one should ever make you feel bad.
No. This is a confidence game. It's
building confidence. So like when I teach kids because I can't really teach adults because I'm not that good, because I'm really teaching them how to be themselves. So we sit in a circle of like 10 students and I make them tell us something nobody knows about them. And once we get that over and they're relaxed, their performance is just so much better.
Yeah.
Just getting off at just as one girl was mad at her mother for years because I kept saying to her, why do you keep doing these depressing monologues? Like you're depressing everyone, you're making me feel bad. And then she said, oh, me and my mother are fighting and that's what it's about. I said, well, let's step away from that. Let go of that with your mother.
Yeah.
Okay? And she literally went on to IMT. She took number 2 in drama and the monologue. That's hard to do with 1,000 people competing.
Yeah, number 2 out of 1,000.
She went to number 2 out of 1,000. So we can hold on to things. And I did that growing up. I never accepted myself. Like Judge Judy says, she wanted to be 5'9" in a model, but she's 5'2". You can't force that. So like both my brothers are 5'11", so for years I was like, why am I 5'7"? I'm 5'6" now because I'm getting older. And I was bothered by that. And now I'm not anymore. I'm who I am and you can't change it. So once you get rid of that, and then you spin in circles, right? When you don't accept yourself, you literally spin in circles in your life. And then you subtly, subconsciously ruin relationships, you ruin your career, and that's the thing you don't want to do. But getting a good coach is one of the best things you can do. But if the coach ever makes you feel bad about yourself, you get out of that class.
Yeah, a class or you need to go to one that you feel is helping you. You don't just pick one, go to it and commit yourself to it and think you're doing anything. You're not. You need to. We were talking about last week.
Talk with Lucas. You got into why they stay there, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
and it's very sad at the same time.
So let's say you're an actor, you don't have a rep, you're out there, you're struggling, you send your stuff out, you're doing that, no one's picking up on you. What advice would you give them to help them? They don't have a rep, you're not going to sign them, but what advice might you give them so that they could maybe get into some of those audition rooms?
Well, I'll send them the link. One of the first things I do, I send a link to the agents, the SAG-AFTRA agents and the Talent Agency Association agents. And the managers, I tell them, look at the agents who just started there. You can tell because they're young, right? A lot of the websites have their pictures. Then I also tell them, do a YouTube page.
Yeah.
Set up a YouTube page. This brilliant film director from Brazil did a computer CGI film, 3 minutes short, for $300. And you put it on YouTube. And believe me, producers go through that. Occasionally will look.
Yeah.
Especially now, they look at it.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting a contract with Lucasfilms.
Wow.
Open-ended. So get a YouTube page. Be unique. Go out and go to, when you see a symposium, an acting symposium, you go and meet them. Because in person, it's always good to meet like me in person and get my attention. Because I may see something there that I didn't see in your headshot. Because sometimes they do really bad headshots and it doesn't represent them. Then I see them in person and I go, wow, you're different.
It's one of the things that I find a lot of people cheaping out on. People cheap out on headshots, and you don't have to spend $1,000 for a headshot. But you need to put it's an investment in yourself and producers. And even if it looks great to you, right? You may not look at headshots every day. You're not seeing photography every day, but casting directors and agents, they're seeing photographs every day. And if yours is subpar, it makes it seem like you're not investing in yourself. Why should I? Because it's time and money, right? You got to sit down with them. You got to pay a little money. I mean, there's expenses with having talent. Why would you invest in someone who won't invest in themselves?
Well, that's the dilemma we work with. If you don't have the money, it's a tough game. So, but basically, headshots are very important to have really good headshots that really capture your essence. And I'd say if you're still insecure, if you're still not aware who you are, don't do the headshots right away. Get into an acting class first. Open up. Tell the coach, I'm afraid to be vulnerable. or I'm not sure who I am. And then you'll get there. There's a great book called The Artist Way. It's a 12-week exercise program, and it's written by Julia Cameron. It's a great book for people who are lost, who don't know who they are, because it forces you, one of the exercises you have to do every day is write 3 pages of whatever.
Wow, that's
3 pages. I did the 12 weeks, and then you one day a week you do your artist date. And when you get through the 12 weeks, but a lot of actors don't go through the whole thing. I find that fascinating.
Well, I mean, they're asking you to write 3 pages a day. I mean, I could see myself. I would definitely be one of those that would be like, throw it out the window. I wouldn't care.
Stop. But you have. But that's where you find who you are, because what is a recurring theme? What do you look like? Like, what's your type?
I've been hearing this a lot lately, where there's a lot of experts saying that if you write things out, that's how you can discover a lot about yourself through what you write. So maybe keeping a journal is a good thing.
Oh, I always thought I'd keep a journal. If you're out and about and you get mad at something makes you mad, write down, okay, this triggered my anger. This triggered my happiness. Put it in your book, and you label it by the 7 emotions. And now you have a journal that can help you go to a specific event and bring back that happiness.
Do me a favor. Will you send me like a link to some of these books that you like, and we'll put them in we'll put a link in the description for all these different books. Yeah. Anything that any like suggested reading you have, we'll put links down in the description.
Yeah, I know.
So you can check it out.
One of the things we talked about, you want to talk about self-tapes by yourself. I don't ever recommend that, but sometimes you have no choice, especially when we were quarantining. So I sent you some information for the link. You literally can do it online. You can have someone, you could somehow talk to the app and it'll repeat the words back for your scene. So
if you're looking for a reader, or
for
$50, you can come to Adam Smith Headshots and I'll read with you.
Yeah.
And I'll coach you too.
This is during quarantine. I think if
and we may go back to
quarantine, you definitely want to use Adam to do your self-tapes. You do a lot of my clients' self-tapes. I don't get aggravated. They come in. I don't have to, because I can reject something. And I will reject things when I see actors that are doing this and they're doing the indicating. I'll reject and say, what are you doing? You can't move your hands. Plant the hands down.
And sometimes people just don't know, and they can be coached. And we talked about it last week that there's a difference in the aesthetic distance when you're working in theater to when you're working on camera. It's very different. And you can learn that though. But if you don't understand that, if you don't have a natural instinct for it, you need to get some coaching on that.
I think coaching is always going to be good, especially for major roles. If you're doing guest star and above, I think it's always good to coach. And right now we're self-taping, and it's always good to have a good self-tape. So it's like, because what happens is if I'm hearing the reader more than the person auditioning, there's a problem.
I'm in a real privileged position because I have access to everything you need for self tapes. But I'll often, not too long ago, we had a really good self tape for a really good role, and I actually did it 2 different times. I did it with one actor, a friend of mine is my reader, and I wanted to get his point of view, and then I did it with my partner, who's a different kind of an actor, and I wanted her point of view, and I was able to get 2 very different points of view.
How that works?
But it was a good part, a big role, and the self tape was beautiful. They should have cast me.
Well, again, you're going up against a lot of people.
But there's a lot of good people.
The good thing about the self-tape is, when you think about it, if the echo cast or the audition email from casting, if sometimes they'll say, oh, we only want 1 take, then you only do 1 take. If it doesn't say that, do 2 takes.
Yeah, if they don't limit you, do 2.
Do 2. Give them a difference. Show them that's how you show them your mettle. That's how you show them who you are.
Yeah.
You can do a different way.
And it's one of the few ways that you can take control of your audition in a positive way. You can send them 2 takes unless they tell you just send 1. Or sometimes they'll ask you to do it this way.
Sometimes they'll say, can you do me? But you're more than welcome to do. Sometimes they don't say anything.
But if it says nothing, this is a way for you to, in a positive way, exert yourself and control the room, the virtual room. That you had 2 different ideas and you'd like to show them the 2 different ideas.
Yes. Take control. Take control of your own mind and what you're giving them. Listen to them, especially if you're in the room with casting. When they ask you to do something in the room, you do it no matter what, whether it's against your principles. A lot of times, if they ask you to play it like Faye, if they want you to play a Faye, even though you may be straight or whatever. So
they may want you to play it more flamboyantly.
Yeah, maybe more flamboyant, because metrosexuals, we can't tell who they are, right, Kelly?
Not anymore, right? It's everything's changing. Everything's fluid
now. Everything's gender fluid, which is amazing.
So what's the best way for an actor to lose his rep? What are some of the things that would make you drop a client?
Well, right now, being out of town or out of the country without telling me that, because that's not good, or not replying to emails promptly.
Right.
I always believe that we like to let casting know immediately back, especially when you're in person auditions.
It's a business day.
I want them within 15 minutes. I want them to have an answer. I know that's difficult. And some people will say, well, I was in acting class and the acting coach doesn't let me look at my phone. And so, well, then you have to go to a different acting coach, because not that I want you looking at your phone 20 minutes, every 5 seconds, but every 15 minutes you check.
Yeah.
And the acting coach needs to understand that, because that's important.
That's the job.
People have lost roles. Someone lost a recurring role in an NBC sitcom because she booked out, but she failed to tell me that she was going on a destination cruise for a wedding. And she missed out because she was in the ocean and she didn't respond to the next day. And NBC had already hired the next person because the shoot was in 2 days.
I've lost like some little jobs that way where they needed somebody right away and they put the feelers out, and the first one to get there, I was at a meeting or something. I just wasn't available for like an hour, and then I got back and it's like, well, they already filled the role.
Yeah, but so you have to always, like, I'm glued to my phone. I have no choice because of casting. Sometimes casting emails me at 6 p.m., 6:30. I'm done for the day.
Yeah. And
I need to respond right away. And we had a client, his grandfather was getting married that Saturday, and they wanted to book him. And he literally, the shoot was on Friday. He was flying out on Thursday. He changed his flight to Saturday. And they really appreciated that. And casting gave him top of show, guest star.
Right.
Because of his willingness to change. And that's a big part of it, because think about how many facets that the casting office is dealing with. They're dealing with the managers, agents, actors, producers, right? I would not want that. That's got to be mind-boggling.
Yeah, they're stuck in a tough position.
So you really want to make it easy for them.
Yeah, you do want to make it easy for them. It takes a little practice to understand like the ins and outs of walking into an office, the etiquette. It's not difficult, but you'll get a feel for it. But you're not there to sell them anything. You're there to show them what you've got at their request, in my opinion. Like, and they're pretty they'll let you do what you're going to do. I mean, most of the time they'll let you bring whatever artistry you want to bring forward. They're happy to see it.
They want to see it, and sometimes they'll say, "That's not what we're looking for, but that was a good job." You want to hear that. I don't mind when clients say, "Oh, they said they liked what I did, but I wasn't right for the role." I say, "Well, then you were your authentic self."
You want to book the job. That's you do, but you're also you're auditioning for your career. You're going to go back in and see that person again, especially if they're the lead casting director. And a lot of offices, there's some offices that the casting director is always the one who does the reading. Some of them you go in, you read with an associate or something. But there's some offices where you're going to get to know them, and they're going to think, this one we have. My first union job, I was hired by the casting director who we're auditioning for this weekend. Yeah. She always thinks of me.
It's amazing,
when it's a good fit. Yeah,
and it's a fit.
Yeah, they're some of those people. Their memories are just crazy good because they're able to like.
They remember everything.
Yeah.
That's why they're casting directors.
And that's why that's what their business.
Job.
What do you think about? So tell me what's going on with the market right now. So we're in late January. You were telling me before we started that that the breakdowns were just coming in like crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of drama shooting here in New York, and series regular roles are starting to come out now. It's pilot season. With Amazon, Netflix, and Hulu, pilot season's all year long. The online people, but the networks generally stick to a schedule. But we're busy.
I feel like everybody needs content. Like, I mean, Lorna and I were looking at, we were going through Prime to look and see if there were any movies, new releases that we could rent. And there just wasn't anything really like good. I mean, I feel like there's a need for more content. And so this might be a real big opportunity for the actors who are able to sort of like, stick it out and stay here.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities.
There's going to be a lot of work.
So if you're a dramatic actor, you want to be in New York.
Yeah. All right. So do you think that we're going to be doing self-tapes forever, or do you think we'll go back to? And what is your thought on that? Will we be auditioning in rooms with casting directors again, or is it going to be on camera?
I hope so, because I think casting likes that, because then they can give their feedback and their. So I think until we get the vaccine, until everyone's vaccinated, we're going to be doing self-tapes. And we were slowly going more towards self-tapes, But here in New York, it's good to be able to go in the office and really show them in person. I think it's easier for everybody involved.
Yeah.
But who knows if it's working? It may be working for casting and production.
It used to be like it used to be for me. It was really, I didn't like self tapes because it was like you have to get a reader, you have to, you got to do a camera, then you got to edit it, and it's got to look good, and we're just going to an office and reading. But now I just love self tapes. Like I feel like I'm actually getting, every time I get an audition, it's like I'm booking a little non-paid job. I get to go and set up a little, it's like a little unpaid job, and I look at it that way. And so now I have more fun, and because I have more fun, it used to be when you're first starting out, and really for a long time, you get the audition and you sort of wait, like, all right, well, I'll hear tomorrow. Well, maybe they haven't made a decision yet, and I'll hear the next day. I've let go. All that's gone now. I send in the audition, and I don't think about it again because I had fun doing it, and I feel like I did. Especially if I feel like I did good work, which is what my goal is now. My goal is not to, for me personally, I'm not trying to give them what they want. I'm trying to do good work. Because that's what they want. They want to see my best work.
They want to see what you get off.
Yeah.
Another big thing is, do they want to work with you on the set too? So when you go in a casting office, you need to show them that
you're a regular person, that you're
paying attention.
Yeah, you're paying attention.
And that because they want to work with you. When you get to the production, I'm sure they sit there and they judge you based upon how you are in the office with them.
I'm sure that's a part of it.
I'm thinking maybe that's it, but you want them to like you.
Yeah, that they're not going to have a problem with you. You don't want to be, so you don't. That's what
show up late to an audition. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was saying that there are some positive ways you can take control of a room, that's important. That the caveat is positive, because you don't want to be needy or difficult to work with, but you can. There are some opportunities like what Lucas and I talked about. Like, hey, where's my frame? It's a non-offensive way to take control of the situation for your audition without being needy and without being offensive and without being, contrived. So you want to find those opportunities where you can stand your ground and do your thing, but it needs to be within that context. It needs to be within that the professional working environment that we're all on the same page here. It shouldn't be you're on that side of the camera and I'm going to do my own thing regardless. That's not what's happening. You're working as a team.
And when you ask good questions, they know you're really paying attention. It's like when at the end of my meetings, before we end, I say, do you have any questions for me? And they'll go, well, what type do you see me as? I'm like, well, I see you as you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not typing, I'm not casting.
Yeah.
And so don't ask me that question. Ask me something better.
It also, when you do find like a little niche that works for you, it sort of is never what you thought it would be. It's something different. I never thought I would be like, they'd want me to come in for, desk sergeant, guy.
Well, you had that good picture for desk sergeant.
Yeah, it was just great.
Yeah. But it's like, I want you to make me work. Give me a good question. Give me a difficult question.
That'll leave an impression on you.
That leaves an impression on me because then you're thinking. Don't read a book. And a lot of it, people will come in and they'll be like a textbook. They'll like ask me these questions that they got off of
the internet questions to ask. Yeah. The backstage article.
That doesn't work for me. I've seen it a million times.
Yeah. Well, we're just about out of time. Arthur, is there anything else that any other advice you want to give our friends out there?
I'm good to go, but I'd like to say thank you, Adam, for having me here today.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. And so if you want to be an actor, now's the time. But you have to remember to be vulnerable. You have to accept uncertainty. And you have to work hard. When you work harder than me for your career, I'm there by your side. But there's opportunity for everyone now. Good luck to you all.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Like I said before, we're going to put some links in the description, and we'll put a link to Arthur's Instagram so you can follow him on Instagram. And you do Twitter?
I'm on Twitter, yeah.
And he does Twitter. And thanks, everyone. See you next time.
1, 2, 3